Yeah, that went downhill fast. Hello everybody, my name's Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today is my March wrap up, all the books I read in March. Now if you watched my February wrap up, that intro would make much more sense because I read Shatter Me and most of Unravel Me, and then for March I read Ignite Me and Restore Me and some others. But we're finishing that Shatter Me series kind of review in this one and then moving on to the other books I read this month. So back to Shatter Me. I really enjoyed that book, as you could tell by my February wrap up. There was a lot of positives I had to say, including writing, characters, interesting plot line, etc, etc. However, if you watch that video and know the Shatter Me series, you're probably looking at me like, really? So it got to a point in Unravel Me where, spoiler alert, I can't say much, but it got to a point where all of my opinions and things I'd stated completely switched and completely took a right turn, and the romance triangle-iness switched itself up. I wasn't a fan. And kind of from there, things went downhill. Ignite Me and Restore Me did not like so much, which is a real shame because I was really getting some momentum for that series and getting some real joy out of it. But it just got to a point where I was just irritated while reading it. I was like, Juliet, what the hell? Why? And when you're that irritated by a character's decisions and thought process, it's very hard to enjoy the story. And I felt like all that 3D characters, they fell flat to 2D. I don't even know how. But that was one of my positives from my review in the last month's wrap up, that they were very 3D. But it just went flat somehow. And I think because of my hatred for the decisions and the character switches seemed all wrong, and every character seemed to suddenly not be themselves. I thought Adam especially just completely... Who was that? Juliet? And there was just some questionable events that I thought, no, that I just wasn't on board with and I didn't believe in. And so the series went from a, yeah, real good 7.5 to a 6, maybe. Realised I forgot to hold up the book during all of that, but I'm not going to film it again. I'd say that the Shatter Me was probably a 7.5 book, but the rest I'll probably put as a 6. And the Restore Me, this was the resurgence, the newer book. It ended with Ignite Me and this picked it all back up. And this one, I say it was okay. Like I said, it's hard to be on board with it since I'm not on board with how the story went before. Some of the new characters were kind of interesting. There was just not a lot that went on in this book, to be honest. Not a lot happened. A lot of the drama from the previous ones wasn't present here. This book will always be special to me because of the book signing, which was my first ever. I bought this book in Barnes & Noble. You know, I don't have Barnes & Noble. To me, that's quite special and it always will be special. But yeah, this series didn't quite pan out for me, I think. So that's the way it is. Now I'm understanding the controversial Warner debate. I get it now. So other than those two books, the third book I read this month was The Rule of One by Leslie and Ashley Saunders. Now this was a book that I hauled really recently, so if you watched, I think, my last haul, there it is. When I said I really wanted to get to that book soon, I was not kidding. I picked it up pretty much straight away on my Kindle. Like, I wanted to read that book fast. I've seen those authors before on YouTube in a video and I thought they were really cool, and the book interested me way back when. And so when I got my hands on it in my last haul, I immediately gravitated towards it, and here's what I think. I really enjoyed it. I loved the relationship between the two sisters. Now that was obviously going to be very prevalent, and it was. I loved how together they were, but also how the splintering happened, and I loved the beginning, you know, where they were just trading the lives. I thought that was so interesting, how they were doing that. I thought how they got found out was a little bit, because it was like they were doing so well. Lyra didn't really do anything wrong, and it went a bit funny, and the rest of the book was really running. That was like the main part of the book was running away. I found there were some really interesting side characters to this, some unusual ones. There wasn't too many other side characters, to be honest. I'm not coming up with many when I'm thinking back on the book. I'd say I really enjoyed it, but I think it could have had more. Like, I loved the idea, I loved the plot, I loved the characters, but I don't know, it needed something extra. Like when they were running and on the run, I just think that it could have had a bit more pizzazz, a bit more conflict maybe, some more characters to make things much more difficult. I mean, it already was pretty difficult, but it seemed like they were just trekking and walking and trying to find water and then bumping into a character and keep on checking and checking some more, and it was kind of like a little bit boring in places. That sounds really mean and harsh, but like it could have had something a bit more to spice up the story. I needed more complications in there, I think. It wasn't easy to do, it was just not complicated to read, you know? I can understand that them walking in this desert would be horrible and hard, but reading about it for 3/4 of the book needed a bit more. Does that make sense? The plot needed more interesting elements to read about, more conflicts, more characters to come in and disturb things and make things worse and have fights, and it's just something. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10, which is my good and average kind of score. That's what my good and average score looks like. And will I be picking up the second one? Because I think it's a duology. I'm pretty sure there's 2 books. I don't know, I might, but I'm not sure. Like, I liked it, but I'm not sure if I liked it enough to read the second one. But either way, it was an enjoyable book. Now that is all the books I have completed in March. However, there is one more that I'm pretty confident, as I usually say, I will finish by the end of the month. So last night I picked up Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. And I'm literally only like 20 pages in, so I have basically nothing to say on this book so far. But I've got 7 days to read this book. The end of March will be in 7 days' time, and that's pretty much my average. I can read a book in a week. I can get that done. That's fine. So I'm pretty confident. This book is very strange so far. Like, only 20 pages I've read. It's very odd and mysterious and unusual. Very fantastical and vague, and that's about as much as I have. I'm very interested so far in the kind of characters we've met and the world that is building and the language and the atmosphere. This is one of those books that's going to be very atmospheric already. I can taste, I can see, I can feel the ground rumbling. You know, it's going to be one of those books. And yeah, I'm really hoping and looking forward to it. But I will give this more of a review wrap up in my next one, since I have nothing really to tell you about this one so far. So although this will be a March read, I'll probably wrap it up in the April one. And that is my March wrap-ups. So I read 4 books, which is back to the average, go me, and hopefully April will be the same. Hopefully I'll get through many more of my books that I need to read. I hope you had a good reading month in March, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!